Hello, it's Roger the Ex-Bass Guide again. I'd like to talk to you today about springtime bass behavior. We all understand some lures, but it's really important that we learn bass behavior. So let's talk about in the spring, as the water starts to warm, the bass move from their winter deep holding areas, and they start to move to their mid-depth spring holding areas. With nice weather, the bass will start to move to the shallows for a while. But when cold fronts move in, they will move to thicker cover, or they'll move back to the mid-depth holding areas. So it's in and out with early spring. As water warms and the weather starts to become a little more stable, the bass will spend more time in the shallows. Big bass move to the shallows early, and they spawn earlier than most of the other bass in the water. One reason the female bass move to the shallows is to help their eggs mature as they prepare for the spawn, to prepare their eggs for the spawn. They will also be looking for an opportunity to feed if the opportunity comes along. This time of year, the bass will try to move to the warmest water in the area, and they're very good at finding that warmer water. You should focus on the north shore, and you should look for any bays, cuts, or canals. This sheltered water will warm up fast, and it'll also stay there because it won't be blown out by the wind. So that'll maintain its warmth for longer. So that's usually the warmest area in the lake, is the northern shore, and in the cuts and canals and bays and places like that. Another good place to start in the spring is the northwest corner of the lake. It gets a lot of sun, and it's a little bit sheltered from the southwest wind, so that's a real good place to start too. So one method for finding bass in spring, because they're going to be up shallow, is running your boat right next to the shoreline. And as you're running your boat with a trolling motor, if it's a little deeper, you can run your gas motor. Watch for fish spooking. Look for bass that are in cover. And when you see bass start to spook, remember where that was. Come back later. But notice where they were in the cover and how they were holding on that cover. Now you'll know how to target those fish. Were they in the grass, right on the edge? Were they submerged under floating debris? Were they in logs, behind wood? Now you start to target those kind of things. So understanding bass behavior and using that to your advantage. Also, this time of year, you really want to be stealthful. These fish are up shallow, the water's a little clearer, and you have a better chance of spooking fish. So take your time, slow, quiet approach, and soft, accurate casts, and you're going to do a lot better. It's also a good idea to use a few baits that work really good. One is a jig and peg, jig and crawl worm. One is a Senko, is a very good early spring bait, and so are spinner baits. Slow rolled through mid depths where they might be holding, or along logs, or along the grass lines where they might be holding up shallow. So those are three good baits. I was out last Sunday, and the weather was nice, and so I got there early. I like to start early, and I didn't move any fish in the shallows, and I fished for about an hour, and I thought back, oh yeah, it did rain yesterday, so the fish were knocked out of the shallows, and they were kind of in a kind of a not moving state. They didn't want to move around, but I knew that the day was going to become more sunny and nice, so I hung around the lake fishing other areas that I knew weren't quite as productive, but to practice my casting and hang out for that bite that was going to eventually hopefully happen. I did end up catching 3 fish. They were not bad fish, but there were a lot of other fishermen that came to the lake about the same time, and they left. And just as they were leaving is when the bass were moving in. I knew that that was probably going to happen. I stuck around. They didn't understand bass behavior. They took off. So understanding bass behavior, and yeah, I suppose I could have showed up at the lake in the afternoon and done okay, but it's nice to know what areas have been beat up. You don't want to be fishing after 3 or 4 other fishermen have been in there and spooked the fish. You want to be the first one through in the spring. These fish are a little less spooky on the first fisherman, but after they've been spooked a few times, then anything goes on and they're going to move. So northwest shore, even if you have on the southern part of the lake, you have a little bay and it has a northern shore, that's a northern shore even though it's the south part of the lake. It will have a little warmer water for that area, and that will attract fish. So always the northern shore. Also, the fish try to move into the warmest level of the water, so that's why they're going to move behind horizontal logs and they're going to be up real shallow. They're going to be in less than a foot of water a lot of times, or less than 2 feet of water. But they also will rise up underneath docks in that warm level of water. They'll go in canals and they'll run up on the shoreline in the brush, and they'll be fairly shallow, where the warmest part of the water. If you ever got into a lake, you step in and it's warm, but you step out a little deeper and it gets cool, and some spots are cold. So remember that. That's how water works. The shallow water warms, and the deeper water takes longer to warm. The sun doesn't get down there, the wind mixes the warm water up, and it all goes away. But if you have a sheltered area, that water is going to last a while. So think about bass behavior, why they do what they do, and you'll become a better fisherman. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any questions or suggestions, just leave me a message, and please subscribe if you would. I appreciate it. I'm here to try and help. Anything I can do, just let me know. This is Roger. See you on YouTube.